week on BioBuddies, we will be talking about the kingdom of Animalia, which offers some extraordinary diversity. While they all have unifying features like heterotrophic, eukaryotes, and multicellular, they live in a variety of ways. The two phyla we have chosen to compare today will be chordates and echinoderms, more specifically the gecko and the starfish. When you think of these two species, what similarities do they share? Any differences? Generally speaking, they are not very similar, but they do share one very unique adaptation. The adaptation is the ability to cling to surfaces with an adhesive. But just because they are different species, do their structure and functions of adhesion differ? How did they obtain this adaptation? Do cells play a role in adhesion?
Adhesion! BioBuddies!
First, we have the theory that geckos use static electricity to stick to walls, which was recently uncovered by Kazi Izadi from Yale. She believes that when geckos climb on the wall, the electrons leave the gecko, going into the wall, making the gecko positively charged and the wall negatively charged, allowing them to attach since opposites attract. This theory is still at the beginning stage, and not many scientists support it. So who knows if it will grow into the future or disappear. Secondly, we have van der Waals' weak electric forces. Van der Waals' force was named after Johannes Diederik van der Waal, who was born in 1837 in the Netherlands. He discovered that all molecules have a weak electric bond forming gases, liquids, and solids. It occurs from the polar and nonpolar atoms that attract or repel off of each other. Van der Waals forces are also known as an intermolecular force, meaning the set of attractive and repulsive forces that occur between the molecules as a result of the polarity within the molecules. Quote from adhesiveandclue.com. In geckos, the dominating theory is van der Waals force over electrical forces. So let's dig deeper into that. Van der Waals force is explained in pictures. So as you can see, we are looking at two atoms. The nucleus is positively charged and the electrons surrounding the nucleus are equal, meaning the atom is nonpolar. But if we have atoms that have an uneven distribution of electrons, the atom is polar. When we have a polar atom and a nonpolar atom, the electrons on the nonpolar atom will spread towards the atom with uneven electrons, or the polar one, forming a weak bond called van der Waals force. The connection in geckos happens in 1/3 of a second, where the electrons are not distributed evenly in the atom, allowing the negative electrons of the wall to attract to the positive or the more positive side of the gecko's atom. In geckos, the force arises from the millions of hairs on their lamellae or feet called setae. Then, the setae splits into thinner hairs called spatulae, which allows the van der Waals force to occur. When the electrons from the gecko's atom get extremely close to the electrons in the wall, they attract, causing an electromagnetic attraction. There are a few factors contributing to the gecko's ability to cling using their hairs. The spatulae are placed at a certain angle that allows them to attach to the wall. Researchers have shown that spatulae is less at a 90-degree angle and more on the horizontal side. The horizontal angle helps the gecko hold its weight and stick to the wall better. The setae is also very bendy, stretchy, and flexible, allowing the gecko to quickly jump from one wall to another with any angle. But if the setae are too bendy, they can get tangled up in one another, causing them to slip off of walls. So overall, the geckos have hairs on the bottom of their feet and then split into smaller hairs that hit the wall in the correct angle, allowing them to use van der Waals forces to climb up vertical surfaces. The structure and function of how starfish adheres to surfaces has a few misconceptions that even some of the smartest people still fall victim to. The old school of thought believed that starfish adhered itself to surfaces by using suction. And we have Mr. Bilat to explain it to you.
See, stars suction using their water vascular system. Water enters the system through the metroporite. It then circulates to the stone canal, to the ring canal, and finally to the radical canals. The radical canals provide water for the ampullae so they can execute their suction cup functions properly. This system is changing the pressure of water throughout the starfish, which allows it to suction.
While Mr. Bilat gave some extremely useful information, it is unfortunately
not entirely correct.
Starfish use the water vascular system for locomotion, respiration, and transportation of waste, not to adhere to surfaces. The suction cup method is fairly straightforward. The suction cup creates a suction cavity between the attached foot and a surface by pressing the top of its foot down and pulling back up. But after analyzing the structure of starfish's tube feet, pressed down, it was apparent that the suction cup method was far from correct. That is because there was no suction cavity at all. The tube feet and attached surface are flush and flat with each other. Actually, the starfish adhesion is a lot more complicated than the suction cup method. It uses a glue-like adhesive to stick itself to surfaces such as glass. It actually leaves a footprint. Whoa! If it were the old method, it would not leave a footprint behind. The process of its temporary adhesion can be broken down into 4 simple parts. Number 1, contact. The fuzz coat makes contact with the surface. Number 2, film. After the contact is made, adhesive cell type 1 releases a homogeneous film. Number 3, mesh. Adhesive cell type 2 releases a fibrous, mesh-like substance largely made of proteins that plumps up a fuzzy coat, adding structure. Number 4, detachment. The tube feet release a third type of adhesive cell to allow it to detach from the surface. It is unknown what the third type of adhesive is made of and how it works so quickly. Although it is fully known how a starfish utilizes its type 1 and type 2 adhesion cells, and it's pretty interesting. Proteins play a large and crucial role in the adhesion process. 11 proteins found in starfish's adhesion secretion were analyzed, which led to the sequencing of a massive 3,853 amino acid protein called SFP1. After SFP1 is translated from a single mRNA strand, it is severed into 4 subunits, which are then linked together by a disulfide bridge. The 4 subunits display specific protein, carbohydrate, and metal binding domains. Talking about a gecko's evolution over the years is hard because they seem to have not changed, but we do have a theory about their adaptations and how it affects the creature. The leopard gecko species seems to be the only kind of gecko that does not have setae, meaning they cannot climb vertically. Although they also have the longest lifespan, ranging from 15 to 25 years, while most other geckos live for 5 to 15 years. The adaptation of geckos climbing on walls allows them to escape predators and capture insects that are directed towards the light. Leopard geckos mostly stay on the ground, exploring rocks and logs, eating crickets, spiders, and centipedes. It is unknown why leopard geckos did not develop the adaptation of climbing walls, but without the adaptation, they live longer than geckos with the adaptation. Geckos can easily die from falling off high structures, which must connect to the life expectancy of all geckos besides leopard ones, meaning that the adaptation that is supposed to help most geckos survive and adapt to their environment may actually cause more harm than good. Conclusion. Although they share the same unique adaptation, their structure and functions differ greatly. The gecko's clinginess takes place at a molecular level, while the starfish's takes place at a cellular level. Here's a recap of everything we went through right here. Thank you for watching. Like this video up, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications because our next video is about evolution. Goodbye.
Yeah! Period.